Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Iyori Folani. Hope you had a great weekend. Okay, kicking off the week then with a bit of politics. We'll look at the off-cycle elections coming up in Nigeria. These have been scheduled for, November 11, and we're looking at that's the situation where they'll be having the off-cycle elections in Bayelsa, Imo, and Kogi for the governorship elections. The other aspect to it is that INEC, raises security concerns, but feels that they are well in hand. But those concerns have been raised. As you might know, they've already conducted a mock election, and from all indications, it seems to be going well. Okay, my guests this morning, we got Fred Nzeako, a lawyer and public affairs analyst in our Lagos studio. As always, great to have you, Fred. Thank you very much.
Many thanks. Many thanks.
And joining us remotely from the UK is the Boot Party National Chairman and 2023 presidential election candidate of the party, Mr. Sunny Adenuga. Good morning to you, Sunny.
Good morning. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you very much. And here we are all, let me start off in Lagos. Everything seems to be, all the arrangements, going by the reports that we're getting, the national chairman was in Kogi over the weekend.
Yes.
Indications are that they have, and they're going to be holding a meeting that he said will be chaired by the National Security Advisor and his good self, all of which are to make sure that there are no surprises in this particular election. Kick-off, are you surprised that we're still having these kind of notions of insecurity concerns in this late stage?
Yeah, but it goes without saying that we still have challenges of insecurity all across the country. And it is also good that the chairman of INEC has voiced out their concern about the security situation in Nigeria as they build up towards the off-cycle elections that are coming in a matter of weeks.
That's right.
Today is October the 15th or so. We are looking at less than a month because the election is coming on 11th of November.
On the 11th.
So it's really a matter of concern. But let's look at the issues. What are the nature, or rather, what is the nature of the insecurity situation? Some are caused by the political gladiators on one side, by their supporters, by their acolytes, and by the party men and women who do not want to see or have any tolerance of the opposition or the other side or the other parties. On the second side of it is the general insecurity situation caused in the country, caused by all manner of criminals, the bandits, the terrorists, the kidnappers, the robbers, and all manner of people that are creating crisis. If those ones, which I can say are existing challenges, we don't expect that politicians will add to such challenges. And that is what is worrying INEC. And I think the one that worries INEC the more is the one caused by politicians. Because some of those criminals are not interested in who is the governor or who is not. They are interested in carrying out their nefarious activities for their own selfish benefits. But the one that worries INEC the more is the one caused by politicians. Through their talks, through their hangers-on, through their supporters, who, of course, would go all out to maim, harass, and intimidate the other sides just to make sure that their preferred governor wins. And that is the most worrisome aspect of it.
And because this might be sponsored.
Of course, it's usually and generally sponsored. No man goes into a venture without any prompting. It's either the prompting is for fiduciary benefits, in which case they are giving money. They are even sometimes giving arms, which going to intimidate other sides. And there are sometimes it might be by way of expectation of political appointments at the end of the day. Often when my man wins, when my man becomes the governor, certain things are assured. And that is the one that really worries INEC. And that is the one that tends to undermine the success of the election. because from the crop of these political detractors, some of them will act as agents on the day of election for the political party. Some of them will act as observers, even though unaccredited. Some of them will just be causing trouble all over the place just to detract from the free flow and the credibility and integrity of the election. So the engagement between INEC and the security agencies and the leaders of the security agencies will be such that we curb this particular one that tends to undermine the electoral process. While they are doing their bits in curbing the other general insecurity in the country, they should up their game on the side of politically motivated insecurity. Politically motivated insecurity. That is the one that is worrying INEC as we speak.
And hopefully, you know, as I said, it's also been reported that the chairman of INEC and the National Security Advisor, such is the level of importance attached to the success of these elections from the point of view of the security implications.
Absolutely.
That the NSA will also be involved. Coming to you, Sunny, in the UK, your thoughts on concerns over you know, the forthcoming elections. The figures we are having is that, look, in Bayelsa, there are, just a little over 1 million registered voters. In Imo, 2.4 million, and in Kogi, 1.9 million. So monitoring, policing, generally handling that kind of size, what are your concerns? And you might have, I'm sure you would have been following the news. Are you satisfied that the security agencies are up to the task?
Yeah, I won't say I'm satisfied. However, I think as a political party, we have candidates in these elections across the 3 states. But there is something we need to state here first and foremost. I shared some of the views established by Barrister Fred there. But we need to get it clear that INEC is not responsible for security operations in Nigeria. They are only an electoral body. That said, it means they are not going to be able to influence some of the security issues. In addition, we also need to know also that the insecurity in our electoral system is a symptom. It's not a problem. It's a symptom of a bigger problem of our democracy, which has been over years reducing participation, undue interference by those active politicians and those who can say maybe a quasi-politicians. Now, how do I mean? If you look at the last concluded general election, the presidential election, we only had 24 million of voters. And what does that translate to? That is about 24% of registered voters. And if we base Nigerian population to about 220 million that we have, that's about 12%. And what that means, let's go down a bit, about 8.7 million voters voted the president. And what that means is that it's just 4% of Nigerians elected the president. It's a big problem we have at our hands. If you look at the ancient Athenians, the Greeks, who started democracy, the way we have it today, usually everyone in that part of the world then that it's eligible, that participate in those elections. So first and foremost, if our elections are maybe I would say research, it will fail test of significance in itself. And what are the solutions to this? We have always said over time, number one, we believe that voting, personally, I believe voting should be made compulsory by law, because it should no longer be about a duty, it should be about an obligation on every Nigerian to make sure that you vote in election. That's first and foremost. Then two, we can throw in technology. I will credit INEC to some degree. They've made some great effort in the last election, and they should not be discouraged by all the negative talks they have received. They shouldn't be discouraged. It's natural. I'm an absolutist when it comes to freedom of expression. But people will always say what they want to say, irrespective of what you do. Yeah. But technology can be thrown into the midst. I will give you a very valid example of what we've done as a political party over a year. Specifically in Imo State, when we conducted the state congress there some years ago, it was heavily contested. But because of the entire process, we're so transparent, we were able to talk about transparency because we deployed technology. On the same day when election was conducted, what happened? The loser congratulated the person who won, even though some people were not happy about the outcome. And I will also give you an example. In Castina State, when we conducted our Congress, one of the things the INEC officials, they said, oh, so you mean we can actually conduct election like this? Then why are we wasting our life, our time, traveling here and there to go and monitor elections face-to-face? Now, let's look at some of the advantages of throwing technology today. It's going to solve a lot of troubles. It's going to save us from these insecurity issues. One major thing in Nigeria causing insecurity, and just like Barrister Fred said, the interest of the participants. So my brother or my friend is contesting for governor. They want to make sure they do everything that is possible to make sure that person wins election. But what is causing this? Look at that numbers of people that participate in our election. So it's so easy for them to be bought. Most Nigerian voters, I'm sorry to say with due respect, are induced voters. We've seen it in the last election, how people were being induced to vote on the day of election. But let's look at it that if we are able to turn out 50% of Nigerians to vote in an election, it will be very, very difficult, if not impossible, for you to be able to induce anyone, because more people will turn out during this election. But of course, in addition to some of these, we've seen that the participant, all of us, because democracy is a system. It's not just what INEC chairman is going to deliver. I told people after the general elections, you complain about the election, but for heaven's sake, it's not Beninons. INEC chairman are not going to make use of Beninons or Cameroonians to come and participate. The Nigerian factor is there. The Nigerian factor is there, and we should continue to look at the processes that give us the election that we really desire, or I stand to be corrected that the election, the result we get is the outcome of the reflection of all of us. But if we continue to dwell on the symptoms like the insecurity, since ever I've grown up of age, I've always heard about insecurity about Nigerian election. The question is what are we going to do about it? Solve security issues relating to elections. There are more that needs to be done at the process level. Those we have elected into the National Assembly, they should start looking at laws.